Hi friends, welcome to session number 3 of our series Defense Against the Dark Arts. This is a Catalyst Classroom presentation, the Wireless Body Area Network, or the WBAN, the technology of witchcraft and wizardry. First and foremost, thank you to the Catalyst Classroom and STARSEED Fellowship folks. Your contributions over the last 6 to 8 months have been just so instrumental in allowing me to actually do the baseline research and study in order to give this presentation. I also want to acknowledge the Synergy channel on Odyssey for basically providing the raw material for the last 6 to 8 months for me to learn the language of computer network engineering, electrical engineering, and the juxtaposition with energy work and energy medicine. Without exposure in that particular way from that particular channel, I'm not sure I would have come to these come to the conclusions that I at least have come to enough to do this presentation. I'm not sure I would have come to the same. I'm not sure I would have put the pieces together as quickly or as efficiently as as I did with access to the Synergy channel. So I want to definitely extend my gratitude for being able to learn from that channel. Also to acknowledge that there were a number of links in the PDF that the Synergy channel had published that are directly embedded into this presentation, and I want to acknowledge that too. So, I mean, that particular channel and the information there laid the groundwork and allowed me a place to study from someone who had all of these experiences, because I'm not trained or had any experience or working knowledge of computer networking and advanced mathematics. I have a baseline understanding, and certainly electrical engineering, but thankfully I also have, state board license as a healthcare practitioner, and I've been practicing that for a number of decades, as well as energy work, and I'm a practicing astrologer, built my own practice online. I work full-time currently as a healthcare practitioner in a clinical environment, and I have a research background in sociology, psychology, so I have all of the tools. It's just I would not have thought to look in these areas right away at the time that I did had I not discovered the Synergy channel. So I'm very grateful for that, and I want to acknowledge that information, there's much of this information that came from the work that came from that channel. So thank you to the Synergy channel for that. And the reason I'm not on camera in case you're like here for the first time is not because I'm hiding anything. It just takes too much processing power, honestly, to process high definition 1080p webcam on my little laptop right now, because that's all I have to work with. The machine that was used for high definition video and storage of those files is no longer able to be used. So I got to work with what I have, which is audio, and going through my screen and just sharing with you basically the links of articles and papers and research that points to this technology that does things that is akin to what we would consider witchcraft and wizardry. And the defense against the dark arts, I have a couple missions. I guess I should start there with what this particular presentation, but this whole series is meant to do, because it is very technical, and we've talked a lot about biochemistry, we've talked about cymatics, and now we're talking about this wireless body area network, which is very technical, and there's a lot of language that is technical and engineering based that goes into this, and it can kind of seem like it pulls all of the spiritual aspect out of it. And I'm attempting to demystify the spiritual warfare, but not take away from the reality of it, because it absolutely is real. And that whole chapter of Ephesians about the armor of God and everything else that goes along with it, all of your other tools and weapons, it's very literal, I think, when you start thinking about all of this technology. And maybe it's always been around, right? Maybe it's not new, it's just new to us right now, but it's never been witchcraft and wizardry like Harry Potter. It's always been the harnessing of natural energy and manipulating it through natural law. So, but this is a good way, the Harry Potter story is I don't want to separate these things of the religion versus the science. They've never meant to be separated in order to have a full understanding and maximizing our potential. So, but I do want to demystify the spiritual warfare so that you understand exactly the areas where this technology is implemented, because it can do things like, you know, influence your thoughts and hack your dreams and control enzymatic responses in your actual body from a satellite or a drone flying overhead. When you realize how easy it is to implement this, and through the natural capacity to be a very strong antenna, it's important to know about this. And so not only demystifying the spiritual warfare aspect so we know exactly what's going on, but really just mostly to empower people, for effective solutions. I see a lot of fear and designation of the nanotech and everything involved in all of this technology in the medical industry, but very few legitimate actual solutions, because nobody's turning this off. I mean, like, this is the most powerful weapon you can imagine, using various means of frequency and vibration to wirelessly control biological functions in organisms. That's what this allows for, right? Under the guise of, medical care, AI precision medical care, right? So it's important that we understand this. And to empower ourselves for actual effective solutions. And I have what I have to offer, and other people are going to have other things to offer in this way, but I don't see a lot of actual solutions that are coming from, like, the energy work solutions are not coming with this understanding of the actual technology itself. And I do feel like one of the other things I'd like to hopefully demystify, or at least I debunk. I think there is this misunderstanding that scientific mainstream and the academy is somehow not willing to acknowledge that there is this underlying current of spiritual energy that is pervading the entire creation, right? That energy medicine is woo-woo and it's really pseudoscience and you can't prove it. And I think there's a misunderstanding that is somehow genuine. I think that and to think that these systems and institutions at the heart of it don't know that there is such thing as this energy field, and the aura and the biofield are all the same thing. Their job is to keep it a secret and not let us know that not only do they know, they want to convince us that it doesn't exist, but they're also have already well into weaponizing it. And this is what I'm going to show you in this presentation, the actual basic concepts, the technology, and the institutions that have the capacity and the technology to practice what would otherwise be witchcraft and wizardry, right? And educating ourselves about this technology and being honest with ourselves about it. And part of that too, nobody wants to think that they're being influenced, but we all are now. Like, the capacity for this is global. And I do feel like that COVID was the global deployment of a lot of the scaffolding necessary for this technology to function. So, but there are solutions, and through the education and the demystifying, there's also comes back to the empowerment of the different ways. And, prayer is one of the most important, I would say. And that's not about pray. People don't know how to pray. And it's like, but what you're really doing is you are actively and intentionally cultivating a personal relationship with God in that moment. And in that moment, what's in your heart comes forward. And that's the authenticity of cultivating that relationship. And that's personal for everyone. So this is not about what is right religiously or who has, who's cornered the market on the right way to pray and who to pray to. It's just that you're doing it. And when we all do it and we're in proximity to each other, being the antennas we are, it has an electromagnetic or a vibratory, oscillatory impact on everything around us. So it's not only defense, but we learn, I don't want to call it offensive because it's, the tendency is wanting to weaponize it back, but to provide some means of preventative. I don't know. That's something that we're going to talk about in the presentation, that is for the Catalyst Classroom people exclusively. So again, if you're interested in any of those things, there are links in the description box to take you to other places that give you more information. So let's just get into the presentation here. My methodology is really simple. I'm going to share with you the basic concepts that are the wireless body area network. We're going to talk about what that is. We're going to talk about the IEEE and what that actually means. We're going to talk about biosensors and nanotech and give examples and talk about graphene in particular and what a biosensor is, what it does, maybe start to ask some questions that could eventually lead to conclusions. There's a lot of information that is not filled in with a lot of these things that we are, this is our challenge to do the research. How do you understand this material? I'm going to give you some articles about different ways that this technology is already applied to and what kind of applications that are being researched currently. We're going to talk about digital twins and what that means and, kind of stretch that a little bit of what that could mean when you're talking about this technology. That's going to be the basis here, is just giving you these basic ideas, explaining them, giving you a sense of how this technology is very just standardized already, and how much it's already being used, it's being discovered. Well, not discovered. That's the thing I'm trying to impress upon people, that I don't think that this is new technology. I think that it's being re-released now for the sake of the potential of what it has. So all right, let's get into it. So and like I said, basic concepts and just sharing with you my sourced material. Now, if you want to be looking at the screen, you're going to see images of all of the links that I went through myself in order to research this. I'm going to literally read stuff out of Wikipedia. And so the idea here is that I am offering my time to be able to share this information with you, but also to just show you, like, it's not being hidden. It's very much out there in the experience, socially and otherwise, right? And technologically available. So that's the other thing, that this is not something that's in the future, right? This is something that's absolutely here, and you can reference it on Wikipedia. So a body area network, we're going to start there. That's the main thing, is the acknowledgement of a wireless body area network, or a body sensor network, or a medical body area network. These are all interchangeable. It references a wireless network of computing devices. Now, Wikipedia says wearable, but they may be embedded. Are you wearing them if they're embedded inside of you as an implant or a pill? Is that wearable if it's embedded inside you as a pill? Maybe it also is embedded inside of you through some sort of intravenous application or administration, and then you have a wearable quote-unquote computing device that is now embedded inside the body, right? And a computing device is exactly what it sounds like: anything that has the capacity to compute electrical signal. And if you are in the Catalyst Classroom, you know the biochemistry. We talked all about how the body, the nervous system, is an electrical system. So, of course, there's going to be this is about putting something that is also an electrical system inside of the body. Okay, so this is the body area network, or the medical body area network. And what we're going to find as we start exploring some of these terms here is that is the institution primarily that this technology is embedded, which makes sense, especially after the last 4 years of what's been going on in terms of our healthcare system, that's where the technology to essentially be able to control people from the inside out through digital wireless networks interfacing with biological electrical responses that's where it is. It's in medicine, and it's just for your own good, right? It's for the greater good. No consent whatsoever, but here we are. Let's see here. It says you can be surface. Now it tells you all the ways it can be surface mounted. You can have, it can be in a bag or clothes. It's a body sensor network or a medical body area network. Something that is embedded within the body, that is a computing device, and it is networked with everything within that system. So the development of WBAN technology, according to Wikipedia, started around 1995 around the idea of using wireless personal area network technologies to implement communications on, near, or around the human body. So the wireless body area network is basically it's based on the idea that you could use the same type of technology that Bluetooth is, right? Or the technology that connects your your device to your printer or your cell phone to your computer is the same wireless personal area network. And you can see, even if you look on Wikipedia, you'll see this diagram of all these concentric kind of half circles, and it starts at the nano, and then it comes to body area network, and then personal area network. So we're talking Bluetooth, something that is a short range signal that's connecting devices. So it's saying here that the wireless body area network, the development of the technology started around 1995, which incidentally was when the telecommunications company Deutsche Telekom was started, which, is in Germany, right? Deutsche Telekom. It's a large telecommunications company. Deutsche Telekom owns, among many other things, T-Mobile, right? The mobile carrier. And T-Mobile and AT&T, I believe, had a merger not that long ago. I don't know if it was before the Nashville Christmas bombing of the AT&T data center on Christmas in 2020. Right? Was it 20 or 21? I think it was 20. Anyway, 1995 was when Deutsche Telekom was started. And I also know that Deutsche Telekom in particular, I know that they have DoD types of relationships in terms of data sharing and data centers. Anyway, so 1995, the development of this wireless body area network was developed to use a device, basically, to implement communication on or near or around. To implement communication on, near, or around the human body. This is technology that was being developed in 1995. So, came to refer to systems where communication is entirely within, on, and in the immediate proximity of a human body. Boy, it sounds like the aura to me, and the energy fields in and around the human body. Magnetic fields, electrical fields. A WBAN system can use a wireless personal area network wireless technologies as gateways to reach longer ranges. Oh, that's interesting. So the gateway comes to, maybe a phone, maybe your laptop, but let's just say a phone. It can use the phone as a gateway to reach longer ranges, which would be maybe to a cloud or to a wireless node, maybe a router of some sort. A WBAN system uses those as gateways to reach longer ranges. Through gateway devices, it is possible to connect the wearable devices on the human body to the internet. This way, medical professionals can access patient data online using the internet independent of the patient location. Okay, so there is already very much since 1995 developing the technology of the wireless body area network, embedded devices that are able to communicate within, near, or around the human body that connects to the internet. Okay, so what are these? We're going to talk about what these devices are. We're going to talk about biosensors and nanotech, of course. But first, we're going to take a little bit of a detour, and we're going to talk about the particular the band that this technology is allowed to operate on. Okay, Now, you can go through the Body Area Network Wikipedia page and get all kinds of information. And it talks about the challenges, and some of them we're going to address in this. They actually have energy harvesting link. I haven't even gone to that one yet. But it also talks about the wireless communication in the U.S., and this also is going to lead to what the IEEE actually is, and it really gives a much more firm emphasis on the fact that a lot of this is standardized already and within these very established institutions and professional associations already. Okay, so one of the things it talks about is applications, is that in the medical field, you're going to apply the Body Area Network, and a place on a patient can alert a hospital even before they have the heart attack, because they're getting all these vital signs, right? So a BAN or a Body Area Network or a body sensor network can, on a diabetic patient, can inject insulin through a pump as soon as their insulin levels decline. You see how these particular technologies and are very useful in terms of these particular applications. But really, you are able to monitor not only monitor, but to influence what is going on within the body through the signaling, and it's wireless. Now, this says the latest international standard for body area networks is the IEEE 802.15.6. And we're going to go into what all of that is, because I think it's really important to understand what this actually means so that you really understand what we're dealing with here. So, the FCC has allowed 40 megahertz of spectrum bandwidth for this medical body area network, which is low power, wide area radio links. Okay, so there's a megahertz band that they're allowed to operate within, which is 2360 to 2400. And it says it will allow offloading medical body area network communication from the already saturated standard Wi-Fi spectrum. Okay, the idea here is to take it off the Wi-Fi spectrum to a standard radio frequency band that the FCC has approved. Now, something to understand about this frequency band that the FCC has approved is that there's very specific groups operating specific things through this particular band, radio links at this particular band, this megahertz band. So, most of it appears to be the medical aspect within here is operating within this band, and it's restricted from 2360 to 2390. So, meaning anything that is operating within that radio frequency band of 2360 to 2390 megahertz needs some sort of permitting or needs to apply, and it's restricted, right? And so in order to operate on those frequencies, you need or have a healthcare. It's mostly healthcare facilities, right? They're operating on this band that allows for this technology also to be implemented. But there's another group in particular that I'm going to share the document that's going to show you. They operate on the same band, and even though it's restricted to the indoor operation at healthcare facilities, this 2360 to 2390. But the 2390 to 2400 is not subject to registration or coordination, so it can be used by anybody, including residential areas. And so you have this tiny band from 2390 to 2400 megahertz that anybody that can program any of these kind of low power, wide area types of computing applications or programs like Bluetooth. If you can code for Bluetooth or something called Zigbee, which is also, you look it up and you see that it's one of the first types of that's covered under 802.15.4, and we'll go into that too. But if you're already kind of familiar with this information, what I'm trying to point out here is that you have this tiny little band that's unregulated and can be used even in a residential setting. And so you can utilize this type of technology, this wide body area network and a personal area network, to be able to lift data from people through this type of mesh networking, and there's no oversight, there's no registration, right? And so that's really important. The other registration and site approval by coordinators to protect aeronautical telemetry primary usage, okay? And what that really refers to, I'm going to show here. So let me bring it up. Okay, this PDF, let's see, where is it? ntia.gov. So this talks about the 2360 to 2390 megahertz band, and it's talking about how it's for aeronautical mobile telemetry systems used to support flight testing of aircraft, missiles, or major components. So the same band, the same frequency, radio frequency band that the FCC has allowed the medical industry to use their low power, wide ratio, wireless body area network in order to administer insulin and take measurements of vital signs. It's the same frequency band as the Air Force uses to support their flight testing of aircraft, missiles, or major components on a primary basis. Federal agencies also perform other telemetry activities in this band. And let's just take a moment here. What is telemetry? Well, what is it is the process of automatically collecting data and measuring that data from remote sources using sensors and other devices. So telemetry is just that process. You're collecting data and from other places through sensors and other things and bringing it in and collecting it and translating it and measuring things. So that's what telemetry is. And so this wireless body area network that is the communication, the field of communication that is being accessed by this frequency band is the same frequency band that the Air Force, okay, is supporting their flight testing of aircraft, missiles, or major components, okay? I think it's really important to just put it out there. Also, the military and the Department of Justice operate fixed stations in this band for point-to-point data communication links. Okay, so obviously it's not going to, spell it out for us, but it's very interesting that these two things function on the exact same band, and one of them is the medical industry, and in terms of their wireless body area network and the technology, and the Air Force and aircraft, missiles, and telemetry and point-to-point data communication links. So right there, that should raise some flags for you in terms of this technology and who has access to it and what they could possibly be doing with it, okay? So let's move on. Now that we've gotten the idea here about the wide body area network and that it is a wireless body area network, that it is meant for communication in and around the human body, that devices can be embedded and that can be considered worn, and they can be embedded through implants or pills. You can embed them with other things, I am sure, and it's operating on the same radio frequency band as the Air Force and the Pentagon and the Department of Justice for point-to-point contacts. So now that we understand how basically that there is a network and this is where it functions, now let's kind of come over to what is the IEEE, because you're going to hear that or see that in relation to this information. But what is it? Well, it's a professional association. It's the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. It's a 501 professional association, okay? They're setting all the standards for electrical engineering, and you can just go onto their website, the professional home for the engineering and technology community worldwide, okay? Advancing technology for humanity, right? That's their mission statement. So when you start looking at IEEE 802.15.6, when you see that that is the standard wireless, that is the wireless standard for the wireless body area network, it's actually referring to all of them. 802.15 is a working group within this professional association, right? And they're specifying wireless specialty network standards, right? And so without getting into or possibly even understanding or knowing all of what this means, IEEE is a 501 professional association responsible for setting the standards for all of these specialty networks and all of electrical engineering, okay? So 802.15.4 is the wireless network standard for all of those low rate wireless personal area networks. When we talk about the Zigbee and the Bluetooth, it specifies in particular physical layer and media access control. So to have the basic, the things communicating, the devices communicating with each other. So you have wireless sensor networks, you have embedded sensing, right? So these are the things that are embedded in the body potentially. Medical data collection and remote wireless microphone configuration. All you need is 802.15.4. It is the wireless standard for all of those personal area networks of devices connecting directly to each other, like through Bluetooth, okay? So it doesn't need a lot of power. It's low power. Like Bluetooth is powered off of the devices themselves, as far as I can tell. So it's very low power, it's low rate, and it functions on a device-to-device standard. And that's just, we'll get into like some visuals as we go along about what that could look like, because there's lots of them in terms of like, here's how your wireless body area network connects to the internet, and it's through all these different connections, and it's way integrated already. So the standard for the wireless body area network is 802.15.6. So we're going to get to that specifics aspect. Actually, this is a great segue into the IEEE and the 802.15.6. So you can see the standard of the wireless network that is needed for what they're proposing, which is improving personal health device communications through consensus building. Ha ha ha. Whose consensus exactly? Because it's not the people necessarily, because if it was consensus based, then you tell them the full extent of how you're using this technology, not to help people, but to basically control everything that's going on inside of them. So 802.5.16 is the standard for this wireless body area network. And you can see in this imagery here all of the ways and all of the IEEE standards that are necessary for each of these devices, and it gives you all these examples of what they are. But ultimately, 802.15.6 aims to provide an international standard for wireless communication, reliable wireless communication within the surrounding area of the human body. And again, when I look at my notes on the whiteboard, I wrote, sounds like the aura to me, right? And there's going to be some more imagery that'll show you that they know exactly what it is. They know that they're targeting it, and they're using digital and wireless technology and the internet to do it. So, if you look at this image here, you can see all of the standards, the electrical standards for all of these different devices. But if you, let's see if I can make this part bigger so you can see what it references when we get to, so right here, 802.15.4, often referred to as Zigbee, and it's talking about, let me make it smaller here. That you only need 802.15.4 to make the connection to these particular. So if you were hooked up, it's basically saying, like, if you were hooked up to these meters in the hospital, see your ECG, your electrocardiograph, you have this sleep apnea breathing equipment, right? You have a monitor, cardiovascular fitness and activity monitor, your Fitbit, basically. This is all it would need, 802.15.4, for the device itself to connect to the healthcare manager and then go either onto the cloud, to the World Wide Web, or go to the physician and then have this chain of communication, right? Now, this is talking about all of these types of things that are this, just the devices themselves, and all you need is the 802.15.6. Now this is talking about 802.15.4. This is where they talk about the 0.6 comes into play, because it's optimized to serve the wireless communications needs for ultra low power devices operating inside or around the body. So there is this extra layer now of wireless communication within the body that needs this upgrade in standard. These body area networks, as this particular article is saying, have the potential to revolutionize healthcare while supporting other innovative applications in sports and entertainment. I wonder what that could be. Body area networks have some distinct features and requirements compared to other wireless networks. Because of their proximity to the body, electromagnetic pollution must be kept extremely low, meaning our electromagnetic field. They think it's pollution, which means devices should have a low transmit power. They also have a special network topology influenced by the human body, while wearable devices must be lightweight and non-intrusive, right? Because the natural electromagnetic field is going to actually ward off and be the barrier against signaling that's not supposed to be there, like this stuff, right? And so when they talk about electromagnetic pollution, they're talking about your biofield. That really just made me very angry. Maybe you can hear in my voice, because I'm just like, look at the way that they even talk to us. Electromagnetic pollution. So that's just kind of one image here, and that's coming right from the IEEE Life Sciences. This is their particular newsletter for the IEEE. So it's completely embedded in all of these professional associations, hook, line, and sinker. Nobody thinks about how this could be necessarily used for evil or for any type of, slavery at the cellular level. So, and that's the IEEE 802.15.6. It's the standard to support all of the requirements necessary for communication wirelessly with the biofield and whatever biosensors they have embedded. Now, this is actually a great segue into talking about the biosensors, because I think there's this sense here, and to a certain extent, it's probably more accurate. And I think our own personal experiences have to be at least some of the evidence to support this hypothesis that the cootie stick was and the subsequent, the boosters afterwards all had, not all of them, but the idea was that there were large distributions of the particular nanotech necessary for all of this stuff. And so let me bring up the next article. I think there's enough information accessible at this point to show that the graphene in particular, that is like a sticky scaffolding and is incredibly electrically conductive, or sends a signal, I should say. Graphene is the substance of quantum computing, is one of the main nanotech pieces to biosensors, and just the infrastructure of all of this technology that gets embedded or worn, right? If you can have it through a pill, you can certainly get it through any means that they can get it inside of you. But it doesn't mean that if you are quote unquote a pure blood, and I'm only saying it in that way because there is this small Harry Potter theme here. Just remember who the purebloods were in the story. I don't really identify in that way, even though I haven't gotten any of those and I haven't gotten any type of vaccine in 2010. I took a large course of vaccines in order to travel out of the country, and I had a really, really bad response to them, and I haven't taken any ever since, not even a flu shot. So I'm not here to say that you're safe if you haven't, because I think that there's enough out there to show that this has been well underway in other means of administration, food or water, the air, aerosol, whatever, that we've been getting graphene into our systems. Okay, this, and I'm not going to explain this whole paper. I'm just bringing it up to show you an example of the research and the science that has already gone into on the feeding mechanisms for graphene-based terahertz plasmonic nano antennas. Right, that's basically how graphene is able to support waves in the terahertz, which makes it an incredibly miniature and electrical tunable miniature antenna, right? So imagine getting all of this into people's bodies, right? Wireless communication among nanosystems, okay? So we all know that the graphene is like the big thing. It's not a secret anymore. And I think the reason that it's so accessible is because it's already done. Okay, so, and we've talked in our own groups about different ways to detox and whatnot. I'm here to just give you the information about the tech that's already been implemented. So, graphene supports those particular surface plasmon polariton waves. It basically acts as a nano antenna and has the ability to support very high, terahertz waves. These are huge. So, this is one of the biosensors, right? And so I'm just showing you that graphene-based terahertz plasmonic nano antennas and what feeds them, right? And the whole article is about. Now it says there's no experimental proof available to show them as graphene antennas. They say it's because there's lack of adequate signal generators and feeding mechanisms. I don't know if that's true or these people just don't have access to it. But it's 2015 International Conference. Oh, it's the IEEE 15th International Conference on Nanotechnology. So there you go. This is 2015. They've been talking about it. So, when we talk about biosensors, this is another big buzzword when we're thinking about this subject, because the biosensors are a very real thing as well. So let's pull up what are biosensors. I just brought up the graphene part. There's a lot of information about the graphene, but it's important to recognize that it's a big part of creating the biosensor and communication network within, and the cootie stick was definitely a big deployment at a global level experimentally for this. And so if you have, you're basically carrying signal a lot faster when you have this in, and it's tunable, right? That means you can carry a specific signal into the body. And when you do that, it actually makes changes. So that's already been implemented, and I think that we have a pretty good idea of what that really, how that's happened. Here's another article about energy-efficient routing protocol for reliable data transmission in wireless body area networks. So this is September 2019. I remember where I was. I was in Europe, and I definitely got hit with the European deployment of COVID, whatever that is, which is, I think, this, right? And this whole paper is about wireless body area networks and how they will benefit from ubiquitous technological services. One of the reasons hindering development is the limited energy of the network nodes. This particular paper is about, here's the layering for the wireless body area network right here, right? So you have one central device, you have these nodes in the body, they go to, look, the smartphone, the computer, another body area network. Look at that, right? You go to another person, and then it hits an access point, or a cell tower, and then it all goes to the internet, and then the internet is able to send the signal to the appropriate place, either to the database server, to the medical center, to emergency services, or some other medical worker. See, oh, how convenient this all is. But the important part of this is they're talking about power and the amount of power that's necessary to generate moving this signal from the person to wherever. And one of the ways to do it is through another person. So keep that in mind. The architecture of wireless body network communication. 2019. So they're already looking at it and already building. The infrastructure is already well on its way, and they're already suggesting at that point that the person, another person, is the best antenna, basically, in order to get the signal to travel long distances. Okay, so here we have the Wikipedia page for biosensor. So it is a thing. It's very much a thing. And it's exactly what it sounds like. So it's an analytical device used for detection of a chemical substance that combines a biological component with a physiochemical detector, right? So what does that basically mean? It has a biological component like tissue or microorganisms or cell receptors or enzymes or antibodies or nucleic acids. The sensitive biological element is derived material or biomimetic or mimics biomimetic component that interacts with, binds with, or recognizes the analyte under study. And what's an analyte? It's just something that you're studying, you're analyzing. So the biologically sensitive elements can also be created by what? Biological engineering. Okay, so you can actually create the biosensor. The transducer or the detector element, so you have an analytical device that is a biosensor that takes sensitive biological element, which is all the things I just described of tissue or cell receptors or enzymes, and you combine it with some sort of transducer, right, or detector element, which transforms one signal into another one and works in a physiochemical way. So it's either optical, okay, piezoelectric, right? When we've heard that one before, piezoelectric is turning mechanical pressure into an electrical signal, and that happens with quartz crystal. It is how your cell phone works, but tissue can also be piezoelectric. That's important. So you have optical, which is light, piezoelectric, mechanical into electrical waves. Electrochemical luminescence is another way that the signal is transduced. So it's electrical back into light, or something that is chemically luminous, and then resulting from the interaction of the analyte with the biological element to easily measure and quantify, right? So the analyte interacts with this biological substance, and the transducer or the detector transforms the signal from the analyte into the biological energy, right? Or the biological entity or the component that is biological, and then it measures and quantifies whatever that information is. So the biosensor reader device connects with, look at all these signal processors that are primarily responsible for the display of the results in a user-friendly way. All of that wireless body area network. This is how you could use that biosensor as something that is implanted, or maybe it's even grown inside because it is sensitive biological elements. And especially because they say that they can be biologically engineered, but it can be enzymes or antibodies or organelles that the transducer is attached to, because you're studying something. So this as you go through, and you can read all this yourself, right? I'm just showing you that the whole thing about a biosensor and bioreceptors absolutely exists, that it has to do with a biosensor typically consists of a bioreceptor, which is the biological component, a transducer, a semiconducting material or a nanomaterial, like graphene, for instance, and electronic system, which includes a signal amplifier, a processor, and display. So the computer, basically. Transducers and electronics can be combined, into a microsensor system. So then you have the transducer or the graphene or the nanomaterial combined into the signal amplifier, the processor, and the display. It can all be part of one microsensor system. So the recognition component, often called a bioreceptor, uses biomolecules from organisms or receptors modeled after biological systems to interact with the analyte of interest. So then they measure things and whatever they're trying to measure. So these are and it has all the ways that these different biological components will act as biosensors. But and all the different biotransducers, right? Optical, electronic, piezoelectric, gravimetric, pyroelectric, magnetic biosensors. And then it goes into all of these things: electrochemical, ion channel switch, all of these ways that the body, on all of these biosensors utilize these different things in order to, what they're saying is do exactly what it's supposed to be, is a sensor, right? But could it not work in the opposite direction, where the signal is being transduced and translated to these particular biological elements in order to elicit some sort of response, right? Or to trigger some sort of protein production, right? Kind of like how the mRNA is supposedly supposed to be working. So I kind of think it's weird that it's all over the place. So now there is, you can go into so much, and it tells you all the applications. Again, glucose monitoring, environmental applications, remote sensing of bacteria, remote sensing of water quality, detection of pathogens, right? So these are all sensing and detection, right? Could these particular, and that in itself is enough to be like, they are collecting every piece of data that is humanly possible through all of these biosensors in a way that, you have not consented to, and most of us have not consented to. What I'm saying is that we're going to start looking at actual research that shows that not only can they pick up on things, DNA biosensors, graphene-based biosensors, the ability to absorb and immobilize a variety of proteins, particularly some with carbon ring structures, have proven graphene to be an excellent candidate as a biosensor transducer, right? So when you start putting these pieces together, it's not very difficult to see the bigger picture here of the wireless body area network, the way that biosensors function, how they interact with that network, and how is it possible, right, that it goes both ways. It's not just sending data, but is giving data. And of course, we know that it does, because the applications, just in terms of the healthcare field for biosensors and the wireless body area network, is like, hey, we can remotely inject insulin, right? We can remotely stop you from having a heart attack. But isn't that you also can remotely do the opposite of those things, right? And we have to be aware of how this is already here and is just being implemented as if there are no insidious uses of this technology. So we've talked about the WBAN, we've talked about the FCC, and that 10 megahertz band that is is like the Wild West of this technology that anybody could use, right? Anybody can use. But more importantly, the fact that the medical ban and then the the Air Force and their missile telemetry are operating on the same radio frequency is just a little bit too much for me to ignore, personally. We've talked about the IEEE and what exactly it means and what 802.15.6 really means, and how it's the standard set by this professional association for these wireless networks, and it is 802.15.6 that is the standard for the wireless body area network. My personal opinion at this point, based on this, is that all the talk of 5G and fifth generation wireless and what that means and how it's affecting our health, obviously it does, and we know that, but I would assert that we are well past that, and that's why all of the information about 5G is able to come out and be kind of like our Wicker Man in some ways, because it's 6G and probably, 7G, seventh generation wireless, is probably being utilized somewhere, without any recognition. So the 802.15.6 is something that can be, as we're going to see, that it's wireless through the internet. And so a cell tower is not necessary. You can use satellites, whatever your system of connecting to the internet. And certainly it could be for a cell tower, but not a 5G cell tower. You need the sixth generation standard for this network to have reliable wireless communication within the surrounding area of the human body. That is not something that 5G does. Now, 5G definitely has its own issues and its impact on our physical and our well-being in general. But we're past that with this technology, as far as I can tell, and based on the fact that the standard is 6th generation 802.15.6 is needed in order to operate this wireless body area network legally. And that's important to understand, that it's completely legal, right? Because it's within the context of all of this, all of these institutionalized settings, basically. And we talked about the biosensors and what they do and what they are, and they can be biologically engineered. They are coupled with a transducer, which is something that changes signal from one type to another, basically changing electrical signal to a different type of signal, or in the case of piezoelectric, it's mechanical pressure into an electronic signal, which is how quartz crystal works in your cell phone, is piezoelectric. So, and that these sensors are transducing information and studying it and sending this data back for research purposes, but I am also asserting that it can be used in the other direction, and receiving signal that then triggers different types of biological responses. And that's important this gets into the whole technology of the wizardry and the witchcraft, and how these standardized systems are functioning in a way that we would understand it with that vocabulary. And that's on purpose, right? That's on purpose to make it so technically heady and in these institutions that people don't really, they don't necessarily know what they're up against. So that's what I'm hoping this presentation is able to do, is just lay it out in a way that the average person can understand. Yes, it's quite the learning curve, but it's necessary, I think, to at least just come to terms with the fact that the technology already exists. So what I'd like to, let's see what else we have here. So that's the biosensor. Yeah, the Wikipedia page for biosensors. There's tons of information there. So I would encourage you to do your own research here. So what I want to talk about next is another concept that specifically came out from the Synergy channel. This is from the World Economic Forum website. This is from Davos in 2022. Digital twins, what are they and why do they matter? So this was last year they're talking about digital twins. So this is a concept, or this is a phrase that comes out of specifically talking about dream hacking in particular. Now, in this setting, that's not what they're talking about, but I am making that connection to how, and not even just dream hacking, but how to kind of run simulations on a digital twin that then translate into actual supported or enticed behavior through these mechanisms of the wireless body area network and the nanotech and the biosensors. So digital twins, from the World Economic Forum's perspective, how they define a digital twin is a mathematical model. And that's something else to consider, that when you break this all down, it's just mathematics, right? It's just mathematics and algorithms to put into action, sending different signals. So a digital twin is a mathematical model that recreates a physical object or a system. And in this case, the physical object is the human, right? The human person or an individual. So they're not going to say that, but they're going to say, oh, it's a factory or a power plant or even a ski resort, right? They're using it to create Sims out of us, right? That's a good way to consider it. And it's not mine, by the way, but I feel like it makes a lot of sense. So a variety of sensors are installed on or around the real-world object to record data about different aspects of its performance. Could it be the biosensors that we just talked about that have graphene as their transducer? That could be very much a possibility. So with the help of artificial intelligence, and machine learning, that's something else to wrap your mind around, folks, that there are not necessarily people making all of these decisions, but artificial intelligence running programs with all of this technology through, I don't know, maybe the Air Force, certainly the Pentagon, certainly other intelligence agencies, and who knows who else on that 10 megahertz band of Wild West access on the 2390 to 2400 of radio frequency band. So with the help of artificial intelligence and machine learning, the digital twin can analyze performance issues or run virtual what-if simulations. The data and discoveries can subsequently be applied to the real-world object. Okay, guys, this is on the World Economic Forum's website about digital twins. So just consider yourself that you are the physical object and the biosensors are sending all of the data to the computer that then is running simulations that then turns around and sends algorithmic mathematically based signals back through the biosensors. Can control your all of your biological responses. Certainly can have an impact on your nervous system if it's electrical signaling. You can signal the cell to do all kinds of things. You can signal the body or the tissues to do all kinds of things, okay, based on this digital twinning. So, and brain mapping is also an article that I want to share. Hold on. Okay, this is the Society for Brain Mapping and Therapeutics to encourage scientists focused on brain mapping, engineering, stem cell, nanotechnology, imaging, and medical devices to improve the diagnosis, treatment, and rehabilitation of patients afflicted with neurological disorders that we created. Anyway, so I just want to show you the homepage, though. Oh, I'm trying to show you not on the web page, because I want you to see the cast of characters on their website. Oh, they changed it. Oh, but you know who Eric Swalwell is. It's too bad. Oh, there we go. 21st president of the Society for Brain Mapping is a Zelensky. Oh, that is really interesting. Let's see what else cycles through, because there's one person that I'm hoping shows up to show you that they got a little bit of recognition and an award. Oh, Global Physicians and Scientists, Humanitarian Mission. What do you think they're brain mapping for? Anyway, I don't see what I wanted to see, which was General Milley on the front of their website receiving an award, and he looked really awkward. So I don't know what that's all about. But consider when you look at these organizations that they're not necessarily as focused on what they say that they're focused on, right? You got to read between the lines a little bit when they say things like this. Anyway, so, but they're in the science, technology, medicine, art, healthcare policy, breaking the boundaries. They don't talk about spirituality in there, though. They definitely talk about art, but, you know, let's see here. That's this. Okay, so here's another application and an article to go along with it. Synthetic morphology lets scientists create new life forms. The emerging field of, and this is 2023, this is this year, the emerging field of synthetic morphology bends boundaries between natural and artificial life. Okay, so this is one of the applications I feel like in a general way with this technology. So if we were to go into this article and kind of get the overall here, they're talking about how to alter living matter. And the goal is not to create grotesque creatures, but to understand more about the rules of natural morphogenesis, the development of biological form, and to make useful structures and devices by engineering living tissue for applications in medicine, robotics, and beyond. So synthetic morphology might be considered the next stage of synthetic biology. So it's bringing together these two particular disciplines, the technology aspect and the biological aspect. And I would say that they are well on their way with the biosensors, the nanotech, and the signaling, right? And so let's see here what they're doing to actually create this morphology. So it looks like they are communicating with, the cells are communicating so that they do a certain thing. And here's electrical signal. And if you remember, ion channels was one of the ways that you're able to make changes in terms of a system or, well, certainly internally, right? And so bioelectrical signaling between cells creates particularly powerful information processing capabilities that can influence morphology. So bioelectrical signaling, right? Now you're talking, again, biosensors, transducing types of things like graphene, and this is about how to basically change the natural form from the inside out through that bioelectrical signaling, right? So lots of potential, right, for life regeneration or, I don't know, hybridization possibly. That's very interesting. So what else do we have here? I'm just going to keep going through my particular, let's see here. AI-powered graphene brain interface. Let's see if I can find that. Oh, yep, here it is. This is under the International Symposium on Wireless Communication Systems. This was 2018. Let's see here. I just wanted to show you that what they had at this symposium. So Internet of Space things. 5G is here. Now what? Wireless AI challenges and opportunities. 5G for growth, 5G for good, well, 5G and beyond, enabling the next generation of industrial automation, Internet of Space things. There's all kinds of stuff they were talking about. And I really can't find right now that particular article about AI interface, graphene interface. Let me see if I can find it. I don't think so. WHO research agenda for radio frequency fields, right? The World Health Organization has recently published a new research agenda for radio frequency fields, right? And that radio frequency, that's the band that the wireless body area network functions under, which is megahertz band in the radio frequency field. And radio waves are massive. They're huge, right? That's what they are. They're on that side of the spectrum. And so they're looking into these radio frequency fields. High priority and other research needs for health effects. Research subdivided into epidemiology, human studies. So this was when 2011. So they definitely, National Library of Medicine, they're definitely making those strides. And low-level exposure to radio frequency electromagnetic fields, health effects and research needs, right? These are similar articles. So it's very well researched what the effects are. That's never been the issue. It's just how it's all being used. And then bioelectromagnetic weapons. Let's see if I can find the particular. I don't think I have it. There was this really great website that had, there it is, the bioelectric weapons, the ultimate weapon. This is under globalresearch.ca, electromagnetic weapons, the ultimate weapon. This is a really good post, and this is from 2007, Institute of Science in Society. So I don't know who these people are, but this particular web page and what's on it is about the weaponry itself and the different types of weaponry, reading brain waves and mind control, converting sound to microwaves, that's transduction, instruments of torture and targeted individuals. It's a really good just synopsis of the weaponry in particular that the U.S. military has weaponized the non-ionizing radiation and used it for those types of things like reading your thoughts, mind control, using sound to microwaves. And this has a lot to do with people seeing things and hearing things and nightmares, the converting sound to microwaves. And of course, if you've been following my channel or social media, and you know about Look Out for Charlie, then you know that he's been talking just about how sound is transduced from even electrical signal right through your own outlet. It can be transduced into sound and can be implanted in your subconscious while you're sleeping for 6 to 8 hours. So this is along the same line. So this is talking about just the different weaponry that has been developed and the possibilities of the weaponry using bioelectromagnetic technology basically for all of these things. So again, reading brainwaves, reading your thoughts, the MK Ultra aspect, converting sound to microwaves. So that's the voice of God technology, people hearing things. I mean, the entire mental health field is just totally screwed if you come to realize that the majority of people who end up being diagnosed with some sort of psychosis or hearing voices or schizophrenia turn out to just be on the other side of this pervasive. That's the thing, it's pervasive, it's everywhere. You actually can't get away from it. You can detect these sounds out in the middle of nowhere if you have a microphone and you know what you're listening for. So let's see if I have anything else here that I want to share, because I feel like that's a lot of information. And it's not just sound. That's one oscillatory pattern. And I think I do want to leave you on a really good note here. And there's so much information, and I know that I didn't really cover like every single aspect of this because I'm not a network engineer or an electrical engineer. I am in the healing arts and I'm a counselor. But I know that having the baseline scientific literacy and critical analysis about this technology is really important. Otherwise, we are just blowing in the wind about how to take care and protect ourselves as this technology is well implemented and is already being used, and it's just going to get more pronounced. So I like the name of, so this is coming from the National Library of Medicine as well, and the name of the article is Life Rhythm as a Symphony of Oscillatory Patterns. Electromagnetic energy and sound vibration modulates gene expression for biological signaling and healing. The reason I want to leave you with this, and maybe you'll even hopefully find the link yourself. Certainly if you're part of my subscriber base, you're going to get all of these links. But you can at least look at what the name of the title of the article is and find it for yourself if you want, because it really talks about how it's this sea of vibration that really is, and the oscillatory patterns of everything that's really what is responsible for the basic biological functioning. And so when you talk about electromagnetic energy and sound vibration modulating gene expression, this is the way that we overcome this technology, is by naturally building our own defenses through these means. And there's lots of different ways that you can do this, right? I offer the teaching and the attunements for Reiki, which in my opinion is like the highest level. To me, it's the best form of energy work to counteract a lot of this technology. That's just my opinion. The electromagnetic energy, the sound vibration, right? Tuning forks, sound healing, toning, right? And I wouldn't necessarily say chanting as much as just the toning. The actual sound itself is going to have an impact. When you modulate gene expression and you heal your DNA, then you are able to basically override any of this stuff, right? And that takes a lot of practice, and we've been consistently separated from these processes within ourselves, and in some ways we're taught that they're evil and it's witchcraft. And it is witchcraft when you use it to manipulate and exploit others without and to use it without people's consent. And that really is a gray area for a lot of people in terms of how they utilize their own capacity for this signaling and healing. But this also is saying that it is really comes down to energy, frequency, and vibration in there, and it doesn't have to be just sound. It can be light, right? That's where the optics and optics come in, right? And sound, electromagnetic energy is the magnetic field that comes off of an electrical charge or electrical transmission, a circuit, right? And what is that? That's just the moving of electrons, right? That's what causes electricity. Light is a movement of photons, which is a different thing, but it still moves in an oscillatory pattern and has a frequency to it. And sound is mechanical vibration. It has a frequency to the way it literally vibrates through a physical medium, which is usually the air. But sound can move through solids, and it can move through water. And sound as a mechanical vibration is very, P waves of earthquakes, seismic waves, are also mechanical vibrations. So you have, in considering all of those things, the Schumann resonance is an electromagnetic vibration of whatever's happening at the core of the earth, whether it be the heartbeat or the magnetic field of an iron core, right? So when you think about everything as this symphony of these oscillatory patterns, it takes us back, I think, to the empowerment piece of the original mission here of this presentation, which is not to, necessarily fall into the victim role of like, they've done all of this to us. And yes, we have to acknowledge what's been done so that we can be like, I'm not okay with this. But we also have to understand how it works and how we've been separated from the very body part that is targeted with all of this technology and all of these standards that have been completely institutionalized, which is the biofield. It's our aura. It's our electromagnetic field that comes from inside, right? And so your heart is electrical pump. Your DNA is a wave propagation of photonic light. That's something that you can find in this type of literature as well. You just got to know what you're looking for and how to search for it. But there has been research and at least reviews and analysis of the DNA being a wave propagation of some sort of frequency, whether it be light, whether it be electromagnetics, or a sound, right? So there's truly resources, certainly, but there's solutions. There are solutions, but we have to be honest, and we can't get caught up in the victim role, like this happened to me, and get caught up in things that aren't about being in more resonance with, our own electromagnetic energy. And that takes practice. That takes a practice, right? That takes being consistent about your physical health. That takes being honest with yourself that you may be a victim of or having survived this type of neuromodulation in your life. And I think that many of us have, and now since the COVID deployment, now we all are, right? So we got to start taking this seriously and getting ourselves up to speed, and not thinking that it doesn't affect you just because of certain things. Like, it can be the potential of this technology can end your life, right? And it can certainly render you ineffective. It could have an effect on all of your basic processes at a physical level that may impact you. And well, certainly is impacting you, but can have, they're talking about circadian rhythms, governing your sleep. All your basic human biological responses can be modulated through this technology. And it's not like they're going to turn it off. It's not like you can uninstall the biosensors, because they're built out of biologically sensitive material embedded within you. They're not going anywhere. So we have to learn to override them through our own natural systems. And there are ways to do that. So let's see if there's anything else. I think I got it all, guys. I think I got it all in terms of what I wanted to present to you today. So thank you for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you so very much. I'm going to bring the thumbnail back up here. And of course, like I said, everything you need is in the description box if you're not already subscribed or part of the Catalyst Classroom. But this is my presentation on the Wireless Body Area Network. So let me know what you think. Certainly reach out if you are interested in the Catalyst Classroom in general, or my email is listed in the description box as well if you have any questions. I'm not taking personal readings right now, but you can check out my website and just kind of see what's around these days. But most of what I'm offering is through my subscriptions through Subscribestar, which is weekly astrology, and then these quarterly presentations. So there is going to be a second installment that is solution-oriented, that is being offered exclusively to those Subscribestar patrons. So if you're interested in that, you might want to think about getting subscribed. I don't think there's really any obligation to do it any more than just the month, but it would be much appreciated if you at least subscribed and liked this video, if in fact you found it helpful and you liked the video. There's lots more to go over here. This is really just the beginning in terms of providing the foundation for what this technology is and what it's capable of. But I don't give up hope necessarily. My partner had reminded me of a line that George Carlin had said, that a cynic is just a disappointed or disillusioned idealist, right? And truly that has lost hope. And even though we may have to find disappointment with our idealism or face some things that we don't necessarily want to face about our society or certainly the way that we've learned things, in the end, if you don't lose hope for, your capacity to always be in the light and to cultivate the light within you and to cultivate that relationship with the divine source that you come from, if you are not taken over by that in your disappointment or your disillusionment or just having to do the hard work of learning about these systems, then it's going to be okay, right? You're not a cynic just because you learn the truth about a situation. So I personally don't want to meet with any Death Eaters. I have personally used my awareness of this technology plus my decades of experience with energy work to get myself out of some shitty situations somewhat recently, and back engineering the things that have happened in my life to be like, oh yeah, wow, that makes a lot more sense now under this framework. And not to say that there's no room for growth or changing your mind or looking in new directions, because you never shut down possibilities when you're truly into scientific inquiry. But I think it's worth considering in terms of defending yourself truly against those who want to use this technology to control you down to the biological level. And they may not be able to destroy your soul, but you may give it up if they destroy everything else around you and control what you think you know. So that's where I'm at with that. So thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Even just taking the time to watch this video. If you're new here, you're doing something to educate yourself and to empower yourself towards effective solutions. So take care, everyone. I'll see you on the next video, which will most likely be astrology related. So we'll get back to the cosmic blueprint soon enough. Take care, everyone. Bye.